Did you know that the average person is captured on camera over 100 times a day? That's a lot of potential for unwanted monitoring, to be sure. This video will cover practical counter surveillance techniques that can help you stay one step ahead of those prying eyes. In recent years, the increase of surveillance technologies has reached an unprecedented level. From facial recognition systems that can identify individuals in crowded spaces to drones equipped with high-definition cameras, the potential for tracking you and collecting your personal data has never been greater. And this surge in surveillance has significant implications for personal freedom, privacy, and security. Facial recognition technology has become increasingly sophisticated, allowing not just law enforcement agencies, but private companies also to identify individuals in real time. These systems use advanced algorithms to analyze facial features such as the shape of the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and these algorithms create unique identifiers for each individual they encounter. Facial recognition today is used for many different reasons. Law enforcement uses facial recognition to identify suspects, track individuals with outstanding warrants, and monitor public gatherings. Retailers use facial recognition for many commercial applications to personalize marketing efforts, prevent shoplifting, and enhance customer experience. And then there are the social media platforms who use facial recognition to tag users in photos and videos and other ways of identification, many times without their consent. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. And let's not forget the ever-growing drone technology. Drones are equipped with high-definition cameras and have basically become commonplace to see them in public spaces and at crowded events. Drones are being used by law enforcement agencies to monitor large gatherings, track suspects, respond to emergencies, and other questionable surveillance purposes. Drones are also being used to inspect critical infrastructure such as power lines, bridges, and buildings and other construction sites to help reduce the risk of accidents and damage. And package delivery companies are starting to test and use drones for home and business package delivery, often without customer consent. In other words, you could one day just look out your front door and see a drone hovering there, delivering a package and obtaining video of you, your house, and who knows what else, all without you giving them express permission. License plate readers, or LPRs, are cameras that capture images of license plates and match them to a database to track vehicles. These are quite common today, but most people are not even aware that they are there. Police use LPRs to help identify suspect vehicles, stolen vehicles, and other people of interest. Tow truck drivers, cab companies, and other companies with large fleets are starting to place LPRs on their vehicles so they can sell that information to data brokers. Private investigators, process servers, insurance companies, and others have access to this data to help them track a vehicle's movement throughout the country. And then there are a lot of those smart traffic cameras that are used to monitor traffic flow, detect accidents, and provide real-time information to state and local governments as well to drivers. Now, don't get me wrong, these technologies have many benefits to be sure, but they also pose significant risks to personal freedom and security. The widespread use of surveillance cameras and drones creates a culture of mass surveillance. And the fear of mass surveillance can quickly erode trust in institutions, government agencies, and large corporations. We are always hearing about these huge data breaches too, and there is higher risk for us with a constant and growing collection and storage of our sensitive data. In fact, the words data breach have almost become everyday common words we see in headlines, hear on the news, and use in our normal conversations. Besides all the day-to-day surveillance technology out there in the world, we also need to be aware of individualized surveillance of ourselves directly. Are you being targeted and surveilled by someone right now? And if so, why would they be surveilling you? You could be being surveilled for harassment purposes, political reasons, or more commonly, you could be surveilled by a private investigator for suspicion of insurance fraud, infidelity, or allegations of fraud, just to name a few reasons. So, what can we do about all this surveillance? How can we as individuals counter the surveillance? Observation is the first step in recognizing these signs of surveillance. Keep an eye out for unusual activity or unusual behavior around you. I am talking about watching out for things like unfamiliar vehicles parked in the neighborhood or individuals just hanging out in close proximity to where you work, shop, and do other day to day activities. A big word of caution here, though. Don't let paranoia set in. It is really easy to start looking over your shoulder all of the time, and you start to think that you are seeing the same person everywhere. It is really easy to get yourself all worked up about nothing and start thinking everyone is watching you, everyone is surveilling you. Then it becomes very difficult to tell the difference between reality and fiction. You should also be aware of identifying patterns you have in your daily routine. These are things that could be exploited or used by someone surveilling you to help them surveil you. Some of these patterns are unavoidable, like consistent work hours. You need to work when you need to work, right? You don't have a lot of control in that, do you? But if you think you are being surveilled, you might change up the route you take to work. This is a simple yet effective counter surveillance technique, and you can use it for any and all trips that you make, be it to work, the grocery store, the park to play with the kids, or anywhere you go. You should consider utilizing basic methods like changing routes, varying schedules when possible, and using public transportation to make it harder for those conducting surveillance to establish predictable patterns. Public transportation is a huge menace for PIs doing surveillance. No PI wants to see their subject getting on a bus or in a cab or go from walking to one of those public e-bikes or scooters or some other hard to follow mode of transportation. Besides just following you, though, you need to be aware that the person surveilling you may be doing more than just surveilling you. They may be tracking you. GPS trackers are common ways to do this, but more often, especially in domestic related cases, we are seeing individual tracking occurrence through apps and other technology on cell phones. One way to counter this is to use low tech tools like Faraday bags to put your electronic things like cell phones and laptops and tablets inside when you travel. You could also try to use a personal RF detector too to help identify items like GPS trackers, tile trackers, Apple AirTags, and other things. Now, based on my experience, those cheap RF detectors have limited capabilities to be sure. For instance, most will have a difficult time identifying what is called a burst device, and most trackers these days are just that. They do not always transmit a signal. Rather, they burst out a signal every, say, 30 to 45 seconds, or 2 minutes, or every 10 minutes. And those bursts are very quick, very short, lasting less than 1 second. A good physical inspection is also required if you suspect a tracking device is being used on your vehicle. Look everywhere, under everything, in every nook and cranny for anything that looks suspicious or unfamiliar. Think of it as a deep clean for your vehicle. Get rid of everything in your vehicle that you do not need to be in your vehicle. The more clutter, the easier it is to hide something and the harder it is to find something. Now, if you think someone is following you, you can also use what we call SDRs, or what is often referred to as surveillance detection routes. A surveillance detection route is a deliberate path taken by an individual to detect or avoid surveillance. You can still take your regular route to the grocery store, but if you think someone is following you, make frequent minor changes in your route, like driving through a random neighborhood. You might even go around the block a time or two, or stop at a park or a store that you don't frequent often, or even pull in to some random driveway. Then you can continue your normal drive and see if any vehicles are making sudden driving changes to try to catch back up to you. Many times, these SDRs will throw off the person conducting surveillance, allowing you to leave the area undetected. Then They have no idea where you went. Another good SDR is to use common routes, but to go to different locations, like driving to the grocery store when you are really going to work. When you get to the grocery store, you enter one door but exit the other. Get back in your car and proceed to work. This is a good way to identify suspicious vehicles and throw off the surveillance. Many times, they will now be on foot surveillance looking for you inside the grocery store as you are heading back to your vehicle. I have also seen people use dash cams in their front and their rear windows. Then they can review that video later to see if the same cars and the same people are around. But I have also seen people take all of this too far, too serious, and allow paranoia to set in. And then they start thinking everyone is watching them. All the cars are following them. And that can be problematic in and of itself.